Hey folks, it's Sam once again, and welcome back to another review to my favorite Psycho film, Psycho 2. And the first film, like I said, I like it's there. I like it's there. I respect it for what it did, but I prefer the sequel. I've always enjoyed Psycho 2, which is part of this three-pack. And I think I I do feel like it's a better movie in my opinion. I like the story. It kept me interested. It kept me involved. I thought Anthony Perkins knocked it out of the park. I think this is his. I thought he does a good job in Norman Bates in pretty much all the films, but I think this is his best performance as Norman Bates. I thought, people like Meg Tilly, Robert Loggia, I thought they did a good job. I thought Jerry Goldsmith's story was subtle, and it was his own. He didn't just steal for Bernard Herrmann. Richard Franklin, I like him as an actor. I think he does a great job. Actor. Director is what I meant to say. Sorry, I kept thinking of Anthony Perkins because he directed the third film, which I'll get into next. But Richard Franklin is a good director. He's a great director, in fact. He did this film that I love called Road Games with Stacy Keach and Jamie Lee Curtis. I love that film. He did films like Link, which I like, FX2, which I like. Richard Franklin, I think, is a talented I keep saying actor. Talented director. He's a guy who learned from Alfred Hitchcock. He actually had taught with Alfred Hitchcock back when he was in school, invited Hitchcock to his school, and you definitely tell he learned from Hitchcock, especially when you watch films like Road Games and Link, and of course doing Psycho 2. And I mean, just another thing to mention is the writer is Tom Holland. I mean, Tom Holland, the same guy who directed the original Fright Night and Child's Play. He wrote this film, and this film came out in 1983, the year I was born. And just they must have gotten a lot of shit from people. What, you're doing a sequel to Psycho? What the fuck? That's gonna suck. And it didn't suck. In fact, like I said, I like this more than the first film. I like okay, right off the bat, people don't think of this Psycho shower scene, so show it to them. Show them the Psycho shower scene. And I thought they have a nice shot of the Psycho house, and you see sort of like the light, sort of almost like the sun rising behind the Psycho house. And I love the idea. I love the fact that decades later, Anthony Perkins' character Norman Bates is released. Vera Miles, of course, who was in the first film as the sister of Janet Leigh, she says, why are you letting this guy out? But he gets let out, and pretty much throughout the film, he keeps seeing these things. He keeps saying he gets a job as a helper of a cook at a diner. We have this young girl played by Meg Tilly, who's a waitress there. He keeps getting phone calls. He keeps finding notes, and pretty much being driven crazy again. And then there's also someone who happens to be going around killing people. And the way this story unfolded, even though, of course, this isn't the first time I've seen it, so of course I know what's happening, but I intrigued by the story. I think this is a really interesting story. I think someone once mentioned that, doing a Psycho sequel, they could have gone the easy route. Norman Bates comes home, he's crazy again, and then you get a bunch of people, and he just kills them one by one. Because this is 1983, the slasher film, and I love slasher films, don't get me wrong. But I like that they decided to go above that. They decided to go above that. I thought they told an interesting story. For example, you find out that Anthony Perkins is being fucked with. Meg Tilly's being nice, but you find out that she's the daughter of Vera Miles, and they're both fucking with him. So that, she's acting nice, but then that's why Norman Bates is finding notes and getting phone calls from Vera Miles, and but then Meg Tilly starts to like Norman Bates and says, hey, he's actually trying to be a decent guy, and Anthony Perkins is. And that's one of those things is you actually feel pity for Norman Bates. You actually feel sorry for him, and that's a very hard thing to do because you know what he did. I mean, the shower scene is one of the most famous scenes in horror history. But Anthony Perkins, I think the writing helps as well, makes you feel sorry for him. Makes you feel sorry. It's like, oh no, don't make him go crazy. Let him keep his sanity. And you feel that he's really trying, Anthony Perkins, and he does a great job acting. You see that Norman Bates is really trying to keep sane. And I think that's a really interesting way that they went with it. Robert Loggia is the psychiatrist who was helping him. I thought, I think he's a good actor. Nice to see him in it. Dennis Franz is this asshole who was running the motel and who Norman fires because the guy's letting people with drugs and stuff stay there. I just like the way it was told. I mean, all the little seeds that you see throughout the film, like when Norman Bates gets there and he first sees the house, he sees someone at the window. And you go, okay, that's maybe Vera Miles, or that's Meg Tilly fucking with him. Or it could be what you find out later. I thought the acting was great. Again, Anthony Perkins, Robert Loggia, Meg Tilly, Dennis Franz. I thought everyone did a good job. I thought the directing was solid. It kept me interested. Was never bored. All the things, even when you're rewatching the film, you see all the stuff that they're trying to do to make him go crazy. Like, Meg Tilly wants a sandwich. Hey, you got any knives? Oh, come on, you must. And then puts the knife right in Norman's hands, and he's, sort of, fighting with himself. Again, I think it's just an interesting psychological story. And, being an older guy now, I appreciate that kind of storytelling. Sometimes I do appreciate that in movies. Dean on the phone, and again, he's trying it. It's not like 5 seconds he's all of a sudden psycho again. He answers his phone. It's like, if this is you, you're sicker than I ever was. And he hands the phone down. So I like that he's trying. He's not like killed. I mean, he's not going crazy in 5 seconds. It's not like, well, fuck, why did they release him if in 5 seconds he goes crazy again? It's just these things keep happening, and then people start dying. Dennis Franz gets like a cut on the face, and he gets stabbed to death. There's a boy who gets stabbed in the basement. And all this stuff going on where, there's some nice angles that's used throughout the film because of the director. You have, he keeps seeing people in the window, he keeps finding notes under the phone, or when he's at the diner and one of those slips that you take to read off the order, the toilet blood seeps out of it as well as the sink as it's clogged up. And even Norman Bates himself is believing that maybe he's crazy, but then Meg Tilly's telling him, no, it's because of what we're doing. But then you have something else going on as well, which I'll just skip to now. Well, I guess I'll wait. Unless she sees someone watching through the peephole, but then she comes out and says, wait a minute, Norman Bates is downstairs. Who could that be? Is it Vera Miles? Is it something else? I just thought it was a really interesting story. I mean, even to the point that Meg Tilly is trying to get Norman to not to unsnap, so to speak. When a death scene occurs, I think it's pretty good, especially Vera Miles' death. I mean, she gets a butcher knife right into her mouth, and it pops off the back of her neck. That's a really crazy kill. It's like, ooh, shit, it's a good kill. I mean, even, you feel bad for Anthony Perkins, and him going to Meg Tilly is like, no, she'll kill you, no, she will. You gotta stay here. And I thought it was a well-written script. I thought it was some nice twists and turns. Even though, again, of course, I've seen this before, but I still think it's an interesting story. It's a story that draws me in more. Because the original Psycho, it's Jenna Lee's story, but all of it's pointless because halfway through the film she just dies, and then that's really the end of her story, really. It just, okay, that's it. But this is, a couple minutes in, boom, it's Anthony Perkins' story. And it's a really interesting story. I mean, finding out at the end that it's this other woman who did the killings, because she's really his mom, and that, the person who thought was mom was my sister, and she was in the nut house for a while, and just the way it all goes down, the fact that Meg Tilly dresses up as Norman's mom to get him to unsnap and go, see, I'm your mom. Trying to do like Amy Steele does in Friday the 13th Part 2, kind of does that, but she's not trying to kill him. She defends herself and, stabbing him in the hands, and that moment where he grabs the butcher knife and it slips through his fingers and blood. It's like, eesh. But, she even accidentally kills Robert Loggia, so Robert Loggia dies because of her. Nothing that Anthony Perkins did. That's what I mean. I think it's like, who would expect that? Someone dies not because of Anthony Perkins. And then at the end of the day, Anthony Perkins did not kill anybody. The only person he killed, technically, was the killer. But I mean, that's because after everything goes down, he invites her and says that it's really his mom. And of course, that scene with the shovel, because you think he's gonna kill her with the tea, but he just takes the shovel and smacked right in the head. She falls down and she's like twitching. It's like, that's a hell of a oh shit moment. And again, that's another. It's called Psycho 2, and it's about Norman Bates, who killed these people in the first film. And if you think about it, the only person he killed was the person that killed people. And you feel bad because now, because of everything that's happened, with either Vera Miles and Meg Tilly fucking with him, then Meg Tilly changing her mind, and then him thinking that, oh, you did kill them, even though we as the audience find out he didn't. And then she gets killed because of that, and then you find out, oh no, it was this woman who did it, and why she did it. And even the last shot, which is this shot here that they used for the poster shot, I think it's a well-directed film. I think Anthony Perkins does a fantastic job. You feel sorry for his character. I thought he does well. I think he's well written by Tom Holland. I think it's a really interesting story that draws me in. You feel bad for Anthony Perkins' character. You feel bad that he got turned back into this because of all these other people fucked with him. It was like if they left him alone, he probably would have been fine. And that's a really hard thing to do for all that, but they pulled it off. It's not a big body count, but it was never about that. And, that knife kill is pretty good. Even Robert Loggia, he gets stabbed with Meg Tilly, but when he falls, he hits the banister. When he hits the banister, the knife plunges deeper into it. The way that was done was interesting. This is very well directed by Richard Franklin. Again, he's a great director who's sadly missed. I mean, this is a guy who would have interesting angles and shots, but not overboard. He didn't go overboard with it as well. And my favorite film, because I think it's the most interesting story. I mean, Anthony Perkins, you find out that he didn't kill anybody. Except, the one person that did do the killings. But now he has his new mother. It's just a really interesting direction that they took with it. So I really enjoy Psycho 2. I find it a very interesting movie. And easily my favorite of the bunch, and it's my favorite performance by Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates. Or any performance I've seen, it's my favorite performance by Anthony Perkins. I think he did a great job. And then Jerry Goldsmith, he didn't rip off Bernard Herrmann. He did his own score, and his score is pretty decent. The score fits the film well. But I don't know what more to say about than that. Psycho 2 is I think it's the best Psycho film there's been, and I don't know what more to say. It's a very well done movie. So thanks for watching, and take care. Later.